Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. The world is dangerous and enemies are everywhere. Everyone has to protect themselves. A fortress seems the safest, but isolation exposes you to more dangers than it protects you from. It cuts you off from valuable information. It makes you conspicuous and an easy target. Better to circulate among people, find allies and mingle. You are shielded from your enemies by the crowd. In the 1660s, Louis XIV had the Palace of Versailles built for him and his court. He purposefully designed the palace so that he was surrounded by the nobility, who were allotted apartments nestled around his. The king's bedroom occupied the literal center of the palace and was the focus of everyone's attention. He kept a very close ear to his surroundings. There was no possibility of privacy in the palace, not even for the king. Every room communicated with another, everyone's actions were interdependent, and nothing and no one passed unnoticed. Interpretation. Louis XIV came to power at the end of a terrible civil war. The nobility deeply resented the growing power of the throne and yearned for the days of feudalism, when the lords ruled their own fiefdoms and the king had little authority over them. The nobles had lost the civil war, but they remained resentful. The construction of Versailles then served a crucial function. The king could keep an eye and an ear on everyone and everything around him. There was no possibility here of privacy, no possibility of isolation. Louis knew that for a king to isolate himself is gravely dangerous. In his absence, conspiracies will spring up like mushrooms after rain, animosities will crystallize into factions, and rebellion will break out before he has the time to react. To combat this, sociability and openness must not only be encouraged, it must be formally organized and channeled. Louis' entire reign lasted some 50 years of relative peace and tranquility. Through it all, not a pin dropped without Louis hearing it. 3 dangers of isolation. The first one, you lose contact with the sources of your power. Because humans are social creatures by nature, power depends on social interaction and circulation. To make yourself powerful, you must place yourself at the center of things, as Louis did at Versailles. The second reason, you cannot hear what's happening around you, including the plots against you. The danger for most people when they feel threatened, such times they tend to retreat and close ranks, to find security in a kind of fortress. In doing so, however, they come to rely for information on a smaller and smaller circle, and lose perspective on events around them. They lose maneuverability, and their isolation makes them paranoid. The third reason, you make yourself an easy target. In a military sense, a fortress is invariably a mistake. Designed to defend you, fortresses actually cut you off from help and cut into your flexibility. They may appear impregnable, but once you retire to one, everyone knows where you are, and a siege does not have to succeed to turn your fortress into a prison. With their small and confined spaces, fortresses are also extremely vulnerable to the plague and contagious diseases. In moments of uncertainty and danger, you need to fight this desire to turn inward. Instead, make yourself more accessible, seek out old allies and make new ones. The moment you lose contact with your people, seeking security in isolation, rebellion is brewing. Never imagine yourself so elevated that you can afford to cut yourself off from even the lowest of echelons. By retreating to a fortress, you make yourself an easy target for your plotting subjects, who view your isolation as an insult and a reason for rebellion. If you need time to think then, choose isolation only as a last resort, and only in small doses. Instead of falling into the fortress mentality, view the world like a vast Versailles, with every room communicating with another. That kind of mobility and social contact will protect you from the plotters, who will be unable to keep secrets from you. Always on the move, you mix and mingle in the rooms of the palace, never sitting or settling in one place. No hunter can fix his aim on such a swift-moving creature. Reversal. Isolation can also be used as a potent weapon against your targets. A person you want to win over, or a woman you want to seduce. An isolated person is weak. By slowly isolating your victims, you make them more vulnerable to your influence. The people around you may seem strong and more or less in control of their lives, but that is merely a facade. Underneath, people are more brittle than they let on. What lets them seem strong is the series of safety nets they envelop themselves in. their friends, their families, their daily routines, which gives them a feeling of safety and control. Suddenly pull the rug out from under them. Drop them alone in some foreign place where the familiar signposts are gone or scrambled, and you will see a very different person. A target who is strong and settled is hard to seduce, but even the strongest person can be made vulnerable if you can isolate them. Block out their friends and family with your constant presence. Get them to spend time in your environment. Deliberately disturb their habits and get them to do things they have never done. They will grow emotional, making it easier to lead them astray. Disguise all this in the form of a pleasurable experience, and your targets will wake up one day, distanced from everything that normally comforts them. Then they will turn to you for help. In seduction, as in warfare, the isolated target is weak and vulnerable.